The faint, crackling sound of a vintage radio broadcast from the 1940s, playing a patriotic song. It slowly fades into the sound of a single, slow, solemn clock chime. They arrived not as king and queen, but as a son and daughter of a generation that saved the world. In the hushed halls of Windsor Castle, away from the cameras and the public gaze, a private ceremony was unfolding. One so personal, so emotionally charged, that its full story has never been told. This is not the story of a royal engagement. This is the story of a promise kept. A promise from a king to the last of the heroes who fought under his mother's banner. And tonight, we are going to show you the unseen moments, the quiet gestures, and the raw emotion that defined an evening of profound remembrance. Forget the handshakes and the posed photographs. What happened behind those ancient walls reveals a side of King Charles and Queen Camilla you have never seen before, and a depth of feeling that redefines the very meaning of modern duty. The setting was deliberate, not the bustling staterooms, but the private apartments of Windsor Castle. A home. King Charles chose this intimate setting for a reason. This wasn't to be a formal reception, but a gathering, a family reunion, of sorts, for a family bound not by blood, but by sacrifice. The guests of honor were a handful of men and women, all centenarians or nearing that incredible age. Each one a living library of D-Day, the Battle of Britain, the Burma Campaign. These were the faces that a young Princess Elizabeth would have seen, the people for whom she herself trained as a mechanic. For King Charles, this was about closing a historical circle. Our sources within the household describe an atmosphere not of pomp, but of palpable reverence. You could have heard a pin drop in the corridors as these heroes, these living monuments, were ushered inside. The king had given one specific order. This evening is for them. Let them set the pace. The gentle clink of fine china, the soft murmur of conversation. The first unseen moment came not from something the king said, but from what he didn't say. He didn't make a grand speech from a podium. Instead, King Charles moved from guest to guest, and he sat. He pulled up a chair, and he simply listened. One veteran, a former royal engineer who had landed on Gold Beach, began recounting a story of a comedic mishap with a vehicle, a moment of light in the darkness. And the king, we are told, didn't just nod politely. He laughed, a genuine, hearty laugh. He was not a monarch receiving a report. He was a man hearing a story from an elder. In that moment, the protocol vanished. It was just two men connected by a thread of history stretching back 8 decades. The king asked questions not about strategy, but about feelings. What was the food like? Did you ever meet my mother? Were you scared? He was collecting the human history, the personal testimony, before it was lost to time. This was the first lesson of the evening, that the greatest honor you can pay a person is your undivided attention. And the king gave it, freely and fully. While the king listened, the queen acted. Queen Camilla's role that evening was one of quiet, profound empathy that left not a single dry eye in the room. At one point, she approached a lady who had served in the Women's Royal Naval Service, a Wren, who was confined to a wheelchair. Instead of standing over her, the queen knelt. Right there on the carpet, she went down to her level to look her directly in the eye. The Wren, her voice barely a whisper, began to share her story of loss, of a fiancé who never returned from a bombing mission over Germany. As she spoke, a single tear traced a path down her wrinkled cheek. And without a word, Queen Camilla reached out and placed her hand gently over the veteran's. She didn't offer a tissue or a platitude. She offered the comfort of touch, the silent language of shared sorrow. It was a gesture of pure, unscripted humanity. In that silent exchange, Camilla was not a queen consort. She was a sister, a confidant, a fellow woman honoring another's pain and resilience. It was a moment that defined her role not as a title, but as a vocation of the heart. The gentle ringing of a spoon against a crystal glass. The most powerful moment of the evening was one that no equerry had scheduled and no courtier had written. As the evening was drawing to a close, the king stood. He had not planned to make a speech, but, visibly moved by the stories he had heard, he felt compelled to speak. His voice, we are told, was thick with emotion, slightly unsteady. He did not speak of victory or national pride. He spoke of debt. A debt, he said, that can never be repaid, but must never, ever be forgotten. He looked at each veteran in turn and said, Your courage built the world my son and grandson will inherit. Your sacrifice is the foundation upon which our very peace is built. We are, and will always be, in your shadow." Then he raised his glass. But he did not propose a toast to the king or the queen. He said, "To you, the last of the greatest generation. Thank you for our tomorrow." In that moment, the hierarchy of the room dissolved completely. The king was toasting his subjects. The powerful were honoring the truly powerful. It was a raw, unfiltered acknowledgement that true royalty is not about birth, but about service and sacrifice. The sound of a distant, haunting bugle call of the last post. As the veterans departed, helped into their cars for the journey home, the true weight of the evening settled over Windsor. This was more than a photo opportunity. It was a passing of the torch of memory. King Charles, by hosting this intensely private gathering, was making a vow. A vow that as the last of this generation slips away, he will become the chief custodian of their stories. He will be the one to ensure that the memory of their sacrifice does not fade. He is bridging the gap between his mother's wartime generation and his own. He is proving that remembrance is not a once-a-year event, but a living, breathing duty. It is in the listening, in the touching, in the sharing of a quiet moment. In those unseen moments at Windsor, we didn't just see a king performing a duty. We saw a son honoring his mother's legacy, and a man humbled by the giants upon whose shoulders he stands. The ceremony is over. The guests have gone home. But the promise made in the quiet of Windsor Castle will echo long into the future of the British crown. The stories of our veterans are our most precious national treasure. If this look into a king's personal act of remembrance moved you, we encourage you to seek out and listen to the veterans in your own community. Their time with us is limited, but their lessons are eternal. We have linked to organizations that support veterans in the description below. If you are able, please consider donating your time or resources to honor their service. Thank you for watching. If you believe in preserving these stories for future generations, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this tribute.